So, with Candace Owens being the talk of the town, talk of the nation of the United States of America, my homeland, a nation which I think we still have some of our best days ahead. I believe that potential is still there. My country isn't dead. You shouldn't think it's dead either, regardless of what the script readers want you to hear. I'm not saying the United States is better than any other countries, but it's a unique country, and it is my home, and I want the United States to flourish and be successful as much as I want other nations to be successful in whatever ways they feel as though matches their wishes and their desires and their visions and so on. There's a lot of talk right now that the United States is dead. Patriotic Americans are dead. The whole movement is dead because of Epstein and Israel. And the big part of this is Nick Fuentes and Steve Bannon and Candace Owens. Okay. I don't think I've ever much spoken about Nick Fuentes. What I know about Nick Fuentes is that he's a young American who's, I think, only 28 years old right now. And it's been very controversial about all of the remarks that he's been making about over the last few years that conservative Americans need to, I guess, stop succumbing to Israel or something like that. And he's had some fight with Tucker Carlson. It's all very much of a joke. If you haven't heard my pitch so far, let's be honest. Israel is a very small country. There's not many Jewish people around the world. Based upon the way resources move, anyone that tells you that Israel is the center of all traffic of goods and services around the world is totally misinformed, part of a script reader, and full of shit. Sorry, it is what it is. Israel right now, their future is with India. This is what nobody wants you to know. Israel is being used as a sword and a shield by India and by the United Nations to divide countries, in particular the United States of America. That's what Israel is about. There is just logistically not enough Israelis and Jews to make this crazy, stupid narrative of Zionism, which is mostly a hoax. Why not? I'm going to kick tonight off with another thing. If the United States media and conservative media cannot start talking about the opioid epidemic, which has killed 1 million people in the United States of America, then I'm going to go on and say, you know what? I think the Gaza genocide is not real. I don't believe the Gaza genocide is real any more than this whole Zionism thing is real. I don't believe it anymore. And I'm allowed to not believe it because the same people that are, Gaza genocide, are unwilling to talk about with any sort of regularity the opioid epidemic in the United States of America and how its dropping life expectancy has been used to suggest deadly novel virus or bad vaccine or China bad or etc. Why not? Come on, bring it. Bring it on. I'm tired of this. Everyone's just tiptoeing around the Gaza. No. We're not tiptoeing around the Gaza genocide because I don't know what's going on in Gaza, but I sure as hell know what's happening right in front of me. And if the people in my country need to talk about what's right in front of them. If you can't figure out what's right in front of you, you have no idea how to figure out what's going on the other side of the globe. No way. You can't do it. So, now that I've had a nice non-controversial start, Nick Fuentes is a big part of this, you can't trust the patriotic Americans who don't want to call out the Jews and the Israels, and then you have the other people who are like, you got to support Israel, you got to be part of the Jews and the Zionism, and then you got to fight the Zionism, but the Zionism is just bad, and then the Zionism is ruining the Christian church, and then it's just insane how they have people running around without ever saying the most important things. For example, the drug epidemic. For example, the life expectancy drop from that. For example, how massive quantities of Americans were just flat out murdered. Murdered more than any other country on the planet. Murdered during COVID-19 via supplemental oxygen, via opioids, via vaccine, I should say an mRNA transfection, which was delivered to most people via intramuscular injection. Most of them were placebos, but not all. Not all. There's a reason why they said if you had any reactions in the first 14 days, it would still count as you getting the COVID, because that's the same 14-day period of, how would you say, injury, which happens when most people say that their kids get autism or some other immune damage from a vaccine. There's a reason for that. But anyways, this is where Fuentes is. So I know that Nick Fuentes was young, but what I didn't really appreciate about Nick Fuentes is that the first time he really made it big onto U.S. media was Charlottesville, Virginia. The Charlottesville Unite the Right terrorist attack, whatever you want to call it, statue defamation thing that happened in July and August of 2017 is a key period of history. Let me review some of the big things which happened then. For one, on July 9th, 2017, Candace Owens releases her first video on YouTube. And it's her acting out, telling her parents, I'm a conservative, sort of playing off the having to break to your parents that you're gay, that you're sexually attracted to people of your own gender, like a big reveal party. And that happened on the same day, or within one day, of the spray painting of the General Lee statue in Charlottesville, Virginia. Huh. That is the same city where not too long afterwards, maybe about a month or so afterwards, then they had the Klan rallies, and then they had the whole Unite the Right rally. I think that's a tongue twister, happening in Charlottesville. And then there was that event where one person died, several people were injured in a car driving into a crowd. And then that was like the breaking point. I guess white supremacy and online hate and everything else. Funny, because that's exactly what Candace Owens, the whole online hate, that social autopsy company that she was part of. That social autopsy company that she was part of, I like to have the picture here ready, where she co-founded it with a Zoe Weiner. Very important to remember that she co-founded that company with a Zoe Weiner, because her father, Mark Weiner, is going to be very relevant here. Going back to the Charlottesville event, though, after the car event where the one person died, several people were injured, then Candace Owens came out a video that she doesn't care about the Klan or white supremacy or David Duke or whatever. Grow up a little bit. If you are American right now, sooner or later, you're going to become, I like this word, mud-blooded. It's a unique country. It's a unique culture. And it just bothers me that people just can't seem to get past this stuff. They keep bringing it up and re-engineering it and encouraging people to fall into these traps. So she does her whole video thing about that. But at the same time, Nick Fuentes, a young Nick Fuentes, has his video August 22nd, and it was on Time. Time magazine covered it. Time magazine gave Nick Fuentes a platform. I couldn't even believe it. Just before then, in early 2017, Nick Fuentes is now suddenly a visible, with his Trump banner going around. So how is he getting in newspapers? Who is this kid? Why is Nick Fuentes getting in newspapers? Why is he given a platform on Time magazine right after the Charlottesville rally? The same rally that a year and a half or so after the rally, of all people, Milo Yiannopoulos is being subpoenaed for unreleased videotapes of the white supremacist Richard Spencer. The same Milo Yiannopoulos that found a young Candace Owens when Candace Owens was working at her company's social autopsy. The same Milo Yiannopoulos that was one of the last people that Candace Owens interviewed before the Charlie Kirk assassination, along with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson, who used to work with Harvey Weinstein in Talk Magazine, shown here, all the way back in 1999. Harvey Weinstein, this famous Hollywood pedophile who's billions of dollars of investments with Steve Bannon, at the very least $600 to $800 million deal with Goldman Sachs money in 2006. the same Steve Bannon who hires Milo Yiannopoulos at Breitbart in, 2015? The same Steve Bannon that Candace Owens interviews on the United States-Mexico border in the summer of 2019, just 4 days before Jeffrey Epstein died. And noteworthy that she had talked to Steve Bannon between Steve Bannon getting the last interview of Jeffrey Epstein, 20-something hours of unreleased video, and then Jeffrey Epstein dying. These are remarkably lucky coincidental interviews that Candace Owens has landed. Do you really think it's because of her pioneering research? But let's stay focused on the Nick Fuentes thing, because it's this photo here from February 19th, 2015, Chicago Tribune. Lyons Township High School Model United Nations Club. Oh, I didn't know that. He's in the high school United Nations Club. Nick Fuentes is. I think this is him in the middle. I could be mistaken. The photo is a little blurry. So the Lyons Township High School Model United Nations Club traveled to Harvard University recently for the Harvard Model United Nations International Conference. Wow. What a great way to be able to meet United Nations people and ambassadors to other countries. With more than 3,000 high school students from 19 countries, each and every one of the Lincoln Township 21 delegates participate in various committees as ambassadors to Peru and Indonesia. Well, we know Indonesia is one of the countries that the local celebrity Barack Obama of Illinois loves, but what he really loves is India. And that matters because India is using Israel as the sword and the shield to destroy the United States of America. Junior Tommy Lombardo of LaGrange Park served as a team secretary general, and 4 delegates won honorable mentions in a very competitive field. They were juniors Danny Benson of Countryside, Nick Fuentes, there he is, of LaGrange Park, Michael Gilger, and Christian Gonzalez of Western Springs. Wow. He must be a really hardworking person in order to have gained such visibility 2 years before, his coincidental promotion by Time magazine as a white supremacist Trump supporter after the Charlottesville event. You know, Charlottesville, not too far from where Robert Malone lived. Charlottesville, not too far from where David Martin lived. Charlottesville, not too far from the Trump winery. Charlottesville, not too far from where Jessica Hockett got married. Charlottesville, not too far from where Jessica Hockett's husband used to work, for the former owner of the winery that is the Trump winery right now. Charlottesville, the same place where Candace Owens got married at the Trump winery, I think at the end of 2019. But it gets better. So this is, and I don't have a subscription to this magazine, I apologize. This is Shaw Local Magazine. This is from October 19th, 2015. On the far left, that's Melissa Fuentes. She's the twin sister. Everyone's got a twin, right, of Nick Fuentes. And there she is with Senator Mark Kirk. I don't think he's related to Charlie Kirk, but you never know. He is the last United States Republican senator from Illinois. And there she is with Mark Kirk while attending the American Legion Auxiliary Girls Nation during the summer in Washington. So she gets to go to Washington, D.C. to be with the senator, Mark Kirk of Illinois. And then her twin brother, Nick Fuentes, he gets to go to New York City or the United Nations to be some sort of young UN ambassador. I am sure that there's no possible way that they met anyone on these ventures of the United Nations and Harvard and Washington, D.C. that might have, provided an opportunity for Nick Fuentes to be recruited to do this stupid role that he's doing right now, along with Milo Yiannopoulos. And along with Tucker Carlson, and along with Andrew Breitbart was killed, of course, Steve Bannon, and so on. Mark Kirk, last Republican, he was socially very liberal, a little bit fiscally conservative. He actually had an unexpected stroke in 2012. That's odd. He almost died. It's funny how these people that are inconvenient to the system die of strokes, heart attacks. Interesting. I'll bet you he was poisoned. Again, it doesn't matter if 100 million people die. Obviously, the only thing that the alt media wants everyone to focus on is Candace Owens. So He was replaced, this is where it gets even better, by Tammy Duckworth. Tammy Duckworth is still an active U.S. Senator. Let me open up a page for her. She's one of the 2 U.S. Senators from the state of Illinois. If you're unfamiliar with her, she's an American politician, and she gave a lot for this country. She's a Democrat. There's a lot of policy things they don't like about it, but you know what? She's sacrificed. She's put it all on the line for the country, and let me show you why. She's an American politician and Army National Guard veteran, serving as the junior United States Senator from Illinois, a seat she has held since 2017. A member of the Democrat Party, she's represented Illinois' 8th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives from 2013 to 2017. Again, Tammy Duckworth replaced Mark Kirk, the last Republican, and there's Mark Kirk with Nick Fuentes' twin sister, Melissa Fuentes, and going to Washington, D.C. But let's get back to Tammy Duckworth here. She was born in Bangkok, Thailand, raised in Honolulu, educated at University of Hawaii. She joined the U.S. Army Reserve in 1992, served as a U.S. Army helicopter pilot in the Iraq War. In 2004, when her Black Hawk helicopter was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade fired by Iraqi insurgents, she lost both legs and some mobility in her right arm. She was the first female double amputee from the war. Despite her injuries, she was awarded a medical waiver to continue serving in the Illinois Army National Guard for another 10 years until she retired as a lieutenant colonel in 2014. She ran unsuccessfully for a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives in 2006. You can read the rest. I think that if Mark Kirk did not have his unexpected, and again, I don't mean this in any slanderous way, but I think Mark Kirk would have kept his seat if he didn't have the stroke. Anyways, as far as a war hero goes, someone who's, that's a pretty badass. Female helicopter pilot, lost her legs after the helicopter went down after a rocket. I'm telling you what, there's a lot of credit I have to give to Duckworth here. We're all in the same pot, and I love that. From Illinois. Now, this is where it gets really even more complicated. As a Thai person, and this is where people need to see what's happening right now in the United States, okay? The other Senate seat right now in Illinois is Raja Krishnamurthy. Raja Krishnamurthy was born in India.
This is a narrator's note making a correction. Raja Krishnamurthy is still a representative in the state of Illinois. He is not a senator. The other senior senator in the state of Illinois, Dick Durbin, has announced that he is in his last term and stepping down. And Raja Krishnamurthy has announced that he is interested in running for that Senate seat when it becomes vacant. I strongly believe that Raja Krishnamurthy will fill the other seat, making Duckworth the senior senator. That may not come to pass. I could be wrong, but that is my intuition.
So there's 2 U.S. Senate seats for each state, regardless of population. The House of Representatives, of course, is based upon the populations of the state, and then each state has an even number of representation in the Senate. It's based upon how it works here. The other one is Raja Krishnamurthy. Now, Raja Krishnamurthy, born in India, I have great problems with him because why do we have someone born in India, not just as an elected government official, that's constitutionally legal, but chairing the subcommittee that pertains to dealing with issues related to concerns of the Chinese Communist Party. Sometimes, every once in a while, I think that there's a conflict of interest. If there was a subcommittee that was dealing with concerns about India, there should be nobody in that subcommittee in the United States government that was born in China. Now, Krishnamurthy, he is also, when he appeared in the United States Senate, one of the people he brought in to talk about concerns related to China is an American woman named Piper Stover, the same Piper Stover that went to the house of Jonathan Cooey to talk about how concerned she was with China. The same Piper Stover that did a podcast with the former ambassador to India, Richard Verma. Now, What I'm doing here is something that I think a lot of people watching the show are just going to dismiss because you want to hear about podcaster names, podcaster celebrities, not my core audience. You want to hear what Nick Fuentes says. You want to know what Tucker Carlson says, and this podcaster over here, and that independent podcaster over here. I'm not giving you that. I'm telling you the people who are actually in the seats running the government right now. And I know it isn't quite as sexy and sultry as actually talking about all the podcasters whose opinions don't amount to shit right now, but you are being encouraged to completely submit to rule by podcast. But behind the podcasters are the people that are actually being elected to run the nation right now. Duckworth, I believe, Tammy Duckworth went to the funeral of Mark Weiner. So, when Candace Owens, when the father of her business partner at this social autopsy dies, many people go to Mark Weiner's funeral because Mark Weiner was one of the top financial supporters of the DNC. Of course, Candace Owens is in the middle of it because Candace Owens is soaked in DNC money somehow. I don't have all the details figured out, but they're going to come out. Tammy Duckworth went to Mark Weiner's funeral. Hillary Clinton went to Mark Weiner's funeral. Hillary Clinton is virtually an aunt of Zoe Weiner. I wonder how many times Candace Owens got to stay at the White House. I don't know. Why not? Given the fact that her business partner knows the White House as well as her own home, is it really that ridiculous to suggest that Candace Owens is that in tight with Harvey Weinstein and the DNC and the Clintons as well? Why not? Anyways, Tammy Duckworth went there. The Bruce Springsteen brand went there. Jesse Jackson went there because, of course, Mark Weiner was godfather to Jesse Jackson's children. Uma Abedin went there. And more importantly, the governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, went there. And Terry McAuliffe is the governor of Virginia during the time that we had the Charlottesville terrorist attack. The same Charlottesville terrorist attack, which right at the time, just a few weeks before it started, when the statues were first spray painted, Candace Owens does her first video. The same Charlottesville terrorist attack, which brings Nick Fuentes to public visibility. The same Charlottesville attack that is permanently associates Donald Trump with being a racist. You know what? Nothing could be further from the truth than thinking that Donald Trump is a racist. I have a lot of problems with Donald Trump, mostly about him constantly not getting the priority of the drug epidemic in visibility. I have a lot of problems, but I'm not going to just be cowardly and afraid to say anything positive about the fellow either, about the president of the United States. I don't get bullied like that. Anyways, then you look at the Miley Yiannopoulos role. How many of these fakes and liars got visibility around Charlottesville? And Candace Owens is right there playing her part, doing her videos, saying the stupid, controversial things that she did when she did. It's all part of a script. And Nick Fuentes is just as much of the script as anyone else. Impossible that his twin sister is with the previous senator. Impossible that Nick Fuentes is one of these young UN ambassadors. Impossible coincidences in 2015. Impossible knowing that Senator Mark Kirk was then replaced with Tammy Duckworth and then has appeared side by side with Raja Krishnamurthy. Raja Krishnamurthy, who is, again, the associate of Piper Stover, but more importantly, Richard Verma. The same Richard Verma that I challenged people yesterday. I challenged every single podcaster and pundit out there to talk about Richard Verma. And you know who responded? Goose egg. Because, well, one possibility is that I'm so censored. I am one of the two most censored channels in the entire world. Without question, without doubt, I win the most censored channel. I win it. I know I do. I've seen my analytics right now. My analytics show a stunning level of censorship. You don't win the most censored award easily. You don't win it because you buy it. I've earned that, and it's awesome. But anyways, no one else has mentioned Richard Verma. I've done so many shows, And again, it goes back to the power of India, the United Nations and the power of India. And here we have, right in the middle of the photo, a young, squirmy, I'm not even really sure he's straight, Nick Fuentes. So that's my little show, my little summary tonight. And the clock just keeps ticking. But people can't stop. They can't stop their silly, stupid support of Candace Owens. They can't stop pitching the lie. They can't stop encouraging you to focus on things that don't matter. They can't stop selling the lie of genocide, selling the lie of Zionism. They can't stop it right now. They can't stop it for even a day. Even a day. And they're certainly not going to start talking about India tomorrow either. No, they won't do that. They have people who pay them to say some things and not say other things. And this is where we're at right now. So thanks for watching. I just had to do this quick drop. I had to get this stuff out there. This is Mark Kulak. It is 12:05, actually in the morning right now. Sunday, December. It was December 13th, 2025. I didn't even put my ID up. There we go. I didn't even play. Well, I did play a bit of music to start. You can find my work on houstonic.live, houstonicits.com. And I got more exciting stuff tomorrow, which you can only watch here. No one else will talk about it. They're just going to tell you about the 700 planes that fly around the world photographing Erica Kirk's ass because it's so amazing. They're not going to talk about Richard Verma. They're not going to talk about India. They're not going to talk about the DNC or Raja Krishnamurthy. They're not going to talk about Mark Weiner, the DNC money around there, or, of course, the Candace Owens longtime relationship with Harvey Weinstein and the Harvey Weinstein longtime relationship with Steve Bannon, or the 9/11 narrative controls, or Nick Fuentes, or et cetera, or the Milo Yiannopoulos role here. You're just going to avoid all of that, and that's expected. So I look forward to their comical avoidance of all the things that are important tomorrow, as they have to yet another day drink a cup of coffee in the morning and pretend that they're actually helping someone by standing up for Candace Owens instead of talking about mass murder during the COVID-19 or the opioid epidemic. They take money to lie about why people die, and I don't. That's why I'm genuine. I'm not a show. Mark Kulak is not a show. My show is Houstonic. Research, archival, analysis, overdose awareness. Thank you very much, everyone. Get some good sleep right now. Get ready for tomorrow. God bless.